Marcus thought smashing the mirrors would save him from the entity. But he just made the biggest mistake of his life. Because breaking the glass didn't destroy the demon, it multiplied it. Now every single shard was watching him, and his own reflection was turning against him. When his phone buzzed with a live video call from inside the mirror, he realized his skin was no longer his own.
Marcus was a late-night highway patrol officer in Oregon, a man accustomed to the eerie silence of the Pacific Northwest timberlands. But after 8 years on the graveyard shift, he retired early to take a job as a night caretaker for an isolated historical estate tucked deep within the Blackwood National Forest. The estate belonged to a wealthy eccentric who had recently vanished, leaving the sprawling 3-story Victorian mansion completely abandoned. Marcus's job was simple: sit in the security office, walk the grounds once at midnight, and ensure no local teenagers broke in. The house was a relic of the late 1800s, filled with taxidermy animals, creaking mahogany floors, and massive gold-framed Victorian mirrors in almost every room. On his third night, the storm hit. Heavy rain lashed against the tall windows, and by 1 a.m., a lightning strike blew out the estate's main power grid. The backup generator kicked in, but it only powered the basement security monitors and a few dim, flickering emergency lights in the hallways. At exactly 3 a.m., the dead hour, Marcus sat in the basement monitoring room drinking stale coffee. That was when he noticed Monitor 4, which faced the grand hallway on the second floor, began to glitch. The screen flickered with static. Through the distortion, Marcus saw something that made his stomach drop. Standing at the far end of the hallway, directly in front of a massive 8-foot-tall floor mirror, was a figure. It looked like Marcus. It wore his uniform. It had his build. But it was standing completely still, staring blankly into the glass. Thinking it was an intruder mocking him, Marcus grabbed his heavy-duty flashlight and his baton. He walked up the cold, dark spiral staircase, his boots echoing loudly. The air uppercase felt unnaturally freezing, turning his breath into thick white plumes. He reached the second-floor hallway. "Hey, high security, show me your hands," Marcus shouted, his voice cutting through the sound of the rain. He shone his flashlight down the corridor. There was no one there. The hallway was empty. Relief washed over him until he looked at the mirror at the end of the hall. In the reflection of the mirror, the hallway wasn't empty. In the glass, Marcus could see himself standing there, but right behind his reflection, hiding just in the shadow of his shoulder, was a pale, impossibly tall entity. Its skin looked like wet, decayed parchment paper stretched tightly over bone. Its arms were disproportionately long, ending in sharp, jagged black fingernails. And its eyes? They were just two pitch-black hollow sockets overflowing with a thick, tar-like fluid. Marcus gasped, spinning around instantly to face the empty space behind him. He swung his flashlight. Nothing. The physical hallway was completely empty. Panicked, he looked back at the mirror. The entity in the glass was now gripping the reflection of Marcus's shoulders. The terrifying part? Marcus couldn't feel the physical grip on his real shoulders. But in the reflection, the creature's sharp claws were digging deep into his uniform, drawing dark blood. Suddenly, Marcus's real phone buzzed violently in his pocket. It was a FaceTime video call from an unknown blocked number. With a trembling hand, Marcus answered it. The camera feed on the screen wasn't a person. It was a live video of himself, shot from a low angle looking up from inside the floor mirror. On the phone screen, Marcus watched the creature slowly lean its head over his reflection's shoulder. The entity opened its jaw, stretching its mouth wider than humanly possible, snapping its own jawbone out of place, and whispered directly into the phone's microphone, "I like your skin, Marcus. It fits so well." Marcus dropped the phone. It shattered on the hardwood floor, but the FaceTime call didn't disconnect. The audio kept playing from the broken speaker, filling the hallway with the sound of manic, wet laughter. Terrified, Marcus bolted down the stairs. He didn't care about the job anymore. He just wanted his truck. He ran to the heavy oak front doors of the mansion and threw his weight against them. They were locked from the outside. The windows wouldn't budge. The house had sealed itself. He turned around, his flashlight beam dancing frantically across the foyer. That's when he realized the horror of his situation. The estate was filled with mirrors, and in every single mirror lining the walls, the entity was creeping closer to his reflection. In a dining room mirror, it was taking off his reflection's jacket. In a hallway mirror, it was touching his reflection's face. Every time Marcus looked into a glass surface, the entity was physically altering his reflection, peeling it away like an old coat. Marcus started to lose his mind. He ran through the house with his heavy baton, smashing every mirror he could find. Glass shattered everywhere, raining down like sharp silver teeth. He thought if he destroyed the mirrors, he would destroy the link. He broke the last mirror in the master bedroom and collapsed to the floor, panting, covered in sweat and dust. The house fell completely silent, save for the ambient roar of the thunderstorm outside. He thought it was over. He looked down at the floor. But Marcus had made a fatal mistake. By smashing the mirrors, he hadn't destroyed the entity. He had multiplied it. On the floor around him lay hundreds of jagged, broken shards of glass. And in every single tiny shard, a miniature version of the pale, hollow-eyed entity was looking up at him. Suddenly, Marcus felt an agonizing, burning pain tear through his real face. He gasped, reaching up to touch his cheek. His hand came away drenched in blood. He looked closely into a large shard of glass on the floor. His reflection was no longer his own. The entity had completely taken over his image in the mirror world. And in the glass, the entity was using its long, black fingernails to rip its own face open. Because the entity now controlled his reflection, whatever happened in the glass happened to Marcus in the real world. Marcus screamed as unseen, phantom claws began peeling the skin off his face, his chest, his arms. He fell to his knees, vomiting blood, watching his own body dismantle itself in the reflection of 100 broken shards of glass. The pain was blinding, visceral, and absolute. As his vision began to fade into darkness, he saw the reflection of his stolen body stand up, dust off his uniform, and smile a perfect, human smile. The physical entity, now wearing Marcus's exact face and flesh, stepped out from the darkness of the room. It looked down at the bleeding, skinless mass that used to be Marcus. The creature bent down, picked up Marcus's flashlight, and turned it off, plunging the room into total darkness. The final sound is the heavy, slow footsteps of Marcus, walking down the stairs, opening the front door, and whistling a cheerful tune as he walks out into the rain. If you enjoyed this story, so please do subscribe and like this video.